Hey, what's up? What's up, YouTube? Hope everyone is having a great summer. Great, well, fall. We're in fall already. Holy cow. And hope that you're getting some good training in this weekend, finishing out this weekend. And I'm going to let YouTube do its thing, let some people get notified, jump on in on this live training today. We'll see if anyone jumps in. If not, then we'll just get some training in. What's happening? What's happening? If you are joining me live for today's training, make sure to say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're training from, where you're training with me from, and we're gonna get to some training here today. What I want to show you guys today is how Kali is a complete art. Good day. I am new here. Awesome. Welcome, Weapon Zeus. I like the name. Welcome from India, New Jersey. Awesome. Good morning, morning. It's 10 p.m. here. Well, good night. Good night. Yeah, it's kind of morning time over here, so. How long have all of you been practicing Kali? It looks like we have someone that was like, I just started. We're going to be training a drill, and we're going to take that drill across a multitude of the different areas of Kali. I want to show you guys how Kali is a complete system. How when you're learning some skills from one area of Kali, say like the single stick or the single sword, how you can take those skills and you can move them over into like the double weapons or the knife or the empty hands or the staff. So that's what I want to kind of go over today. From Sweden, from Holland, started around 1997. Nice, going on 1 year. Awesome, big fan, awesome. Can I use my barong or stick? Yeah, if you're using a barong, a live blade, please be very careful. Don't hurt yourself. Started 2 years ago. Hey, from Australia. Been doing it for more than 4 years, but I'm still just at the beginning of what I can do and achieve. Yeah, you know, it's like we always feel that way. We always feel like beginners no matter what. You know, I've been doing this for over 2 decades, and I still feel like a beginner most of the time. So actually, to tell you the truth, especially when I'm teaching, I feel even more like a beginner because so many of my students, they have these amazing questions, right? Like, I like teaching because I can't think like everybody else. So I started teaching because when I'd get these questions coming in from different mindsets, different ways of how different people think, right? They'll have questions coming at different angles than what I can think of on my own. And that's why sometimes when I'm teaching, I feel like a beginner because it's like, man, I have to think about the whole system. I got to think about all these things in a totally different way because I'm training with so many different people, which is a blessing. You know, it's super awesome. January will be 3 years for me and my kids. That's awesome. Yeah. We'll be having some training bolos. This is a prototype, but we're going to have some training bolos over on the website at kalicenter.com, hopefully very, very soon. Been doing it casually for 2 years on and off. Hey, man, that's great. Have to do some warm up. Yeah, we'll get warmed up. We'll get warmed up here in like 30 seconds. All right, we'll start at the 5-minute mark. I feel like when you teach something, it only helps you think it about in a way you'll never forget. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's like, I think it was Socrates that said, right? The highest form of learning is through teaching. So whenever you get a chance to teach knowledge, you want to teach it. You want to share that knowledge, and it helps you to retain it better, more deeply, and more refined. All right, so Kali, the way that we teach it here at Kali, there's a lot of different mindsets when you're talking about Filipino martial arts because there's so many different styles, so many different systems out there. And it can get kind of confusing from time to time. And it really comes down to what this particular style or system or school is teaching and how they decide to teach, whatever logical system that they're using or logical approach that they're using. So here at Kali Center, we like to try to keep to the more traditional, like the ancient traditional, which would be based off of like the blades, right? So everything that we teach here at Kali Center is based off of the blade, the bolo. It's not based off of the stick. Okay, what you can do with a bolo, you can do with a stick. But what you can do with a stick, you can't necessarily do with a blade, right? So like, you know, we can slash with the blade, we can thrust with the blade, we can puño strike with the blade, we can counter with the blade, right? We can do all kinds of movements and, you know, tactics and techniques with the blade. However, when we're with the stick, we have some other types of options, right? Obviously, we can go into different types of striking methods, close quarter striking methods and all that with the stick, but we're not gonna be grabbing the blade in this same fashion. We can use the blade through the support system of this other hand, absolutely, right? But it's a little bit different because we're not gonna be grabbing the blade and all that, right? So, you know, the stick, probably better for restraining techniques. You know, if you're in a situation or you know, you're like, I don't want to go lethal, I want to restrain if I needed to. Stick is going to be really good for different kind of locks and chokes and things like that you're probably not going to want to be doing with the blade because it's not going to just be a lock or a choke, right? I mean, you got a sharp edge on there. So, but when we're thinking about Kali and the skills and the mindset of the blade, this opens up a whole different level of awareness and observation in our training and in our skills. So obviously, like when it comes to a stick, you know, you don't really want to get hit with this, but I'd rather get hit with this than with this. So for training with this, what we have found is that it puts a lot more emphasis on the footwork. It puts a lot more emphasis on understanding the map, navigating your terrain, and trying to develop the skills to get angles, better favorable angles on your opponent, okay? And it also helps you to train with a higher level of awareness to have better technical precision or execution of your techniques. You know, it's one thing to accidentally whack yourself with a stick. It's a whole nother thing to accidentally whack yourself with a live blade, right? With a bolo. So this is why when we're training, I highly, highly advise to have, at least in the beginning, when you're just starting off, have two different types of training gear. Have a rattan stick and have a training bolo. This is a blunt, it's not sharp, it won't cut me, but you still don't want to whack yourself with it because it's gonna hurt a lot more, okay? So you wanna have both because I think I'm of the school of thought that it's important to understand the psychology of both, right? Of the stick and of the blade. Not really one is better than the other. They both have their pros and they both have their cons. The blade will take far less application of skill, right? I hit the hand, boom, the hand is gone. But it's more lethal. So if you wanted to have more of a humane mentality in your self-defense, the blade is not gonna be your best choice probably, okay? The stick, the pro is that it's less lethal. So if you wanted to just, be able to hit, create some time where you can create distance and get away, maybe you have to restrain, the stick is gonna be more of a pro for that. But it's gonna take more application because it doesn't do as amount of damage fast enough like the bolo does. Does that make sense? So one isn't really above the other. It comes down to your personal wants. What do you want from your training? What are your goals for training? And what are the skills that you want to develop? And it also comes down to what's available to you in your environment, right? I mean, you don't see too many bolos laying around, but you might see some impact weapons. The other thing with Kali is that I want you to not be thinking of the object that is blatantly right in front of you or in your hand. I want you to start thinking a little bit laterally, outside the box a little bit. And what else can this area of Kali represent? So the knife doesn't always have to be a knife. It could be a screwdriver. Maybe you're on the job site and you got some crazy or something coming after you, and you got to take care of the situation. You don't have a knife. Maybe you got a screwdriver in your hand. Maybe you are, on your way, walking downtown, on your way to a business meeting. You got a pen in your pocket, okay? So I want you to think outside the box. What can these represent as field expedient weapons or improvised tools that you can use in a self-defense situation, okay? So don't just think blatantly of the training tools here of Kali. Try to think of your environment and what can these tools represent, all right? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I want us to have some fun. If you've got a pair of sticks with you, make sure you have some sticks. If you got a staff, make sure you got a staff. If you got some training knives, if you don't have a training knife, if you got a pen, use a pen, okay? Or a spoon or fork. It doesn't really matter. Just don't stab yourself with a fork, okay? It's not cool to stab yourself with your utensils. But let's go ahead and just go through a couple basic warm-ups just to kind of get the body moving, and then you can use these as warm-ups for your Kali training sessions. You could also use these as cool downs, or you can just do them throughout the day when you're kind of feeling fidgety, you just need something to do. So the first thing is we're gonna grab our stick about 1 fist length up. A lot of different school of thought is that, there's a lot of different gripping methods in Filipino martial arts. Again, it depends on what school, system, style that you're coming from. The reason why we go 1 fist length up is, let me show you. And not one is necessarily better than the other. Not one is more correct than the other. Not one is more wrong than the other. It just depends on your training and what you want. But we go 1 fist length up because that's the correct balance point for a bolo, okay? So that's the pommel length of the bolo that we use here at Kali Center. So that is why we maintain that same distance of roughly 1 fist length up, okay? So we have 1 fist length up. The first thing I want us to do is start conditioning our wrists. So we're gonna go into forward wrist rotations just like this. The stick is always rotating to the outside of the forearm. Don't do this to the inside because you're gonna whack yourself in the chin, okay? So always to the outside. Now you're gonna notice that when I'm doing this rotation, I'm not opening the hand. Okay, the grip stays closed, just like this. We're using the momentum of the stick to bring the wrist around. Okay? You don't have to death grip this thing. It's just keeping it a nice, secure grip so the weapon doesn't fly out of your hand. Yep. And you just rotate it, just like this. You can rotate it forward, you can rotate it backwards. Always to the outside of the forearm though, okay? And then we go forward and back, just like this. You're gonna notice I'm gonna stop the tip of the weapon right on line with my nose, and then I'm gonna rotate it all the way back. And we wanna get to this full chamber position. There's different positions to strike from. We start everything from a full chamber because this is like fully cocked and loaded, right? Like you're not gonna be able to strike faster and with more power from than from right here, right? That's where you're gonna be able to deliver your maximum strike. It's the full arc of the strike. Then later on, you can do all these different manipulations and stuff like that, okay, as your skills are developing. So we have forward and back, just like this, okay? And you wanna kind of get a little snap out there, get it snap back, okay, when I get to that point. You can also flip it over and work the left-hand side. Get some rotations going forward, okay, get some rotations going backwards, all right, and then some rotations forward and back, just like this. Right there, okay? That's a great little warm-up for the wrists, for the grip. It's gonna help develop the flexibility in the wrist, the conditioning of the wrist, the forearm, and the grip. Really, really good. You guys can get the coaching with us. If you guys want to not be guessing in your training, if you're having a hard time getting to a class, getting to a teacher in person, maybe the class schedule doesn't work with your personal schedule, your work schedule, or there's just nothing in your area to go and train with or train at, you guys can train with us one-on-one right here online, and we'll work with your schedule. I have a link to our Patreon page in the description below. Just join us over there. It starts, it's very, very reasonable. It's very affordable. We have live stream classes that we do every month. And you can also schedule one-on-one private lessons with us, and we'll work with your schedule. Okay, and it's super affordable. We want to make it where it's just easy for you. Okay, so we have that little warm up right there. Then we can use our angles 1 and 2 to start warming up the rest of the body, especially the shoulder, the lats, the pecs, the core, just kind of get everything moving here. So we're gonna start off at this chamber position just like this. You can see how it's touching the back. And we're gonna strike our angle 1. Our angle 1 is a downward diagonal strike, just like that. And then we're gonna strike our angle 2. So it's making a big X in front of our body. 1, 2, 1, 2, just like that. And just let the momentum of the weapon do the work. Okay? You don't have to worry about trying to put more force into it. I don't want you to think of pushing the weapon. I want you to think of pulling the weapon. Pull it through this arc. Let's go over to Bob real quick. Let me show you why. I'll show you why. Now, that doesn't mean you never push your strike. There's certain strikes that you do push. But in the fundamentals, I'd rather you be pulling your strike. And I want to show you why here a little bit. Okay. So when we push our strikes, what happens is, this is where there ends up being a little bit of a tendency. If you guys have a Bob like this, okay, and you're training with Bob, put him on a little bit of an angle. Don't have him where you're training with him square. Put him on an angle as if he's in that bladed position, okay? But when you're striking, if we push our weapon at our opponent, there's a couple things that happens here. Number one, this is where the weapon is more likely to bind. It's more likely either to bind to our opponent's weapon, or it's going to bind to our opponent's body, okay, whether it's an impact weapon or a blade. The other negative of pushing your weapon is that you are extending your hand in the center line, which is the most likely place where it's going to get whacked. Okay? So if we pull the strike, we're allowing that energy to cut through that target, which is going to minimize any binding weapon to weapon or weapon to body. Right there. It's also going to speed up the tip of your weapon. So you're going to maximize your speed, which means you're going to maximize your power, you're going to maximize your follow through, and you're going to be able to get to multiple strikes a lot faster than if you're pushing like this, okay? So I want you to think pulling your strikes, pull your strikes, at least your basic slashes, okay? Hopefully that gives you a little bit different perspective on some of your strikes. I have a lot of people that have been experimenting with this in their sparring, and they're like, Paul, holy cow, this made a massive world of difference in my sparring, in my performance. How did I not think about this before? Well, it's okay, because you got me. You got me now. You got me now. So we're going to turn you into a Kali beast, my friend. Okay. So we have that right there. 1, 2, 1, 2. Just kind of get this worked. This is a great warm-up. Working your basic strikes on your angles 1 and 2. And then you can start to shorten this as well. So you can strike off the elbow as well. So we have 3 basic slashes or methods of slashing here at Kali Center. These are basic methods of slashing. We have off of the shoulder slashes, okay, just like this. We have off of the elbow slashes, where the elbow joint is the primary initiation joint. And then we have the wrist slashes just like this, okay, which are a little bit more, I would say, of an advanced manipulation. You got to really kind of know what you're doing with it, because your hand is out there a little bit longer. So you have to have a better control of range and timing, and understand how to use those tactics strategically, okay? But those are our basics. So we just start everybody off right here off of the shoulder. This is the easiest to learn. It's going to deliver the most power. It delivers the most protection in your strikes. And it really is all that you need, okay? Especially when you understand footwork and how to control range and understand timing and all that stuff. All right, so these are our basics. our basic movements. We have our diagonal slashes, just like that. We can go down the X, and then we can go up the X. Okay? You can also be training everything I'm going over today with the left hand as well, so that way you are working both sides of the body. If you're working on the single stick and you're kind of focusing on that, it is a good idea to take some time and work the left hand, because that's going to help develop that coordination, which is going to help you as we progress to the double sticks, the espada daga, the double knife, the staff, all those other weapons. Is it absolutely necessary? No, because we are going to get to all those other weapon categories. That's going to train both of the hands anyways. And your less dominant hand is going to be able to trace the success and the accuracy, precision of your more dominant hand. So this hand's going to learn it faster anyways. All right, but we have our basic diagonal slashes. Then we have our horizontal slashes, and we have our vertical slashes, just like this, okay? Now, once we strike that vertical slash, this is the drill that I want you to work with me today. We're going to go diagonal down, forehand and backhand, diagonal up, forehand and backhand, horizontal, forehand and backhand. Then we're going to go down to the vertical just like this. And we're going to go into a center line thrust, a backhand thrust, and a forehand thrust, and back. So this is covering all the basic strikes. All the basic strikes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 strikes right there. Okay, so we'll do a couple reps together right here, nice and slow. Let's get it done twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then one more time, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, just like that. If you work that drill out, you got all the fundamental movements. Then we can, add all in like the floretes, which is all really cool that you can do and all kinds of really cool stuff. But if you have the basics, then you can get to the, the more advanced manipulations. But remember, it's the fundamentals that is the true advanced skill. That's a true advanced skill. Let me see what we got going on in the comments. If we have any questions or any comments that are cool to go. If you have any special requests that you want me to go over, send me a super chat, and I'll make sure to get to that. I've been following your channel for a couple years. Yeah, I'm using 2 sticks. We're going to get to 2 sticks here in just a minute. Training blades has always made my stick work a lot better as far as angles. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you can use everything to your advantage, even a broom. That's true. Brooms are great weapons, especially if they're dirty and they got extra dust and grime in the bristles. You shove that into your opponent's eyes. I love your live streams. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, man. Thank you. I use 2 dull spoons. Nice. Yeah, make sure they're not sharp spoons. If you're using sharp spoons, you're not going to want to eat with those. They're going to cut your... It'll be like the Joker. You got sharp spoons. What would you say for a beginner from UK? What would you say for a beginner? I would say get started training, man. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. Take your time. Don't worry about how fast you're progressing or anything like that. Focus more on the consistency of your training, and the duration of time is going to be there. What if I take out my 9mm? Well, it depends. Is your 9mm, are we 0 feet from each other and my knife is already in my hand? Then your 9mm probably isn't going to help you out too much there. So you got to be more specific than that. Plus Filipino martial arts. Well, nowadays we're integrating firearms, so we use guns too. That's under the 11th area of Kali, which is projectile weapons. So we may have a 9mm too. We might have a 45, which will beat your 9mm. Boom! We might have a 357 and beat your 9mm. We might have a 50 cal Desert Eagle and beat your 9mm. prefer school around here has only 1 day a week. Jump into our coaching, man. Then you get to train with us a lot more, and we get to, like, you know, help you out and give you some different perspective. I would love coaching, but I'd rather be there in person. Come out to our ITC, man, 2022, July 13th through the 17th. Come train with me for 5 days in person. Registration for that opens up November 1st. And if you get into our coaching, you get a discount to attend our ITC. An awesome discount. A very, very generous discount. Old school. Man, come on, you got to get new school, my friend. This is the way that the world is moving. Don't become too extinct like the dinosaurs. We got to evolve, my friends. We got to evolve. You know, COVID-19, a lot of schools shut down and people are waiting for these things to reopen, but the world is changing right now and probably most of these schools are not going to reopen. You're going to have to figure out how to make it work. So while you are waiting for these seminars and camps and things to pop up, what's the next best thing that you can do? All right, or you can wait forever. Let's see, I just got here and went to the beginning. Nice, awesome. I know how to do the spinning. Awesome. Have you watched? Oh, I have been watching you for a while. Middle Missouri, nice. Talk a little bit about edge alignment. Make sure that the edge is going forward to the target. I'm not good at spinning on my left hand. I'm going to practice it. Yeah, there's always one hand that's a little bit better than the other, so it just takes training. You got to put some time into it. Absolutely, no problem, Chris, no problem. Does Kali have spear training? Yes, I have a lot of videos on spear stuff right here on the YouTube channel. So check out my YouTube channel and go through I think we have over 800 videos now that are free here on YouTube. So we got a lot of spear stuff on here. Do all Filipino blades light or heavy? My blade's not heavy. My blade's like 1.5 pounds, but it's designed so once it's in motion, it's virtually weightless. Yeah, man. I'm just poking it out there a little bit, Chris. No worries, man. If anybody wants to do the coaching or they don't want to do the coaching, it's totally cool. We got people that are doing it. They're seeing great results. And we got, I totally understand the mindset of, nah, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just do the in-person thing. And that's it. But just remember that you're here on YouTube right now training with me. So there's no difference other than that would be more personalized and we can really tackle your questions and help you advance further in your skills. When is Double Stick DVD 3 coming out? I don't know, man. I don't know. But we're adding more of the Double Stick stuff into our Kali Apex, which is like the continuation of it. All right, so let's take a look here. What do we have as far as our Double Stick? What's a basic drill that we can do here? You guys are probably going to be noticing that there's only so many movements that you can actually do in any martial art because all martial arts are limited to the anatomy of the human body, right? So you guys probably have you might have seen this basic movement right here, right? This is the strikes that we use to kind of cover those basic diagonal strikes. Right here. Okay, you can also whip this across on the horizontal strikes as well. Okay, in the open position, you've got some vertical strikes. You've got also across on the diagonal strikes. You got, all the different X attacks right here. That's another version of diagonal strikes, and all that stuff. But basically, on the double sticks, we have 3 positions. We have the open position, a chamber position, a closed position. We also have the reverse chamber position, but that's a chamber position, so it falls in the same category as chamber position. And all the movements are going to come out of one of or transitioning through at least 2 of these movements of these positions. So we can start off right here on the basics. We can also go into what we call the classical chamber, and we can thrust into the cuts, okay? Or it could be slash thrust, slash thrust. In Kali, it's all about flow. So in Kali, every slash can become a thrust, every thrust can become a slash. You can continue slash to slash, you can continue thrust to thrust, And then you can move into all of these other types of different manipulations that are all centered around cutting or thrusting. Okay? So we have that basic right there. So I want you to come up. You have the diagonals from the right side, diagonals from the left side, horizontals from the right side, horizontals from the left side. Okay? You can also strike these at the same time, which is like a wall of destruction. And when you strike them here, boom, you're going to strike them like that. They're going to be further apart, just like that. So boom, boom, right there. Diagonals are going to give you the most protection and the most striking surface, but horizontals are really good for range because they're a little bit further in range, than the diagonals, right? So there's times, my friend. There's times on using which one. Okay, we can also go into the thrusting, okay, of the double, and we have the same exact basic principles that there's either centerline thrusts, backhand thrusts, and forehand thrusts. Okay? Because now we're just putting together the right hand and the left hand. Right? When you're really good at two sticks can defeat one stick. So now we're starting to learn the different mindsets of Kali, the one-upmanship mindset of Kali. All right, that's why, like, when somebody says, what if I pull out a 9mm? Well, we also do projectile weapons. So I'll pull out my 50 cal Desert Eagle and I'll be behind cover and I'm going to shoot you first, right? Because this is the mindset of Kali. This is the mindset of Filipino martial arts. It's not necessarily saying that we're better than everybody else or whatever it is. It's just a mindset that Filipino martial arts just kind of has. And it's always a one-upmanship mindset. Okay, like, how are we going to win? That is, by any means necessary. Cheating is a great strategy when it comes to your self-defense. Okay? It may not be good in sports, but when it comes to self-preservation, cheating is a wonderful, fantastic, great, incredible, amazing strategy. Find a way to cheat, my friends. All right, so let's work that out. We have 1, we have 2, 3, 4 right there. Okay? You can also come out and strike the verticals and strike the verticals. You got the thrusts, and then you got all the different thrusts that you can work there. Okay? The third area of Kali is the Espada Dagger. We can start working a lot of the same movements at the single dagger, right? So we can strike that 1, strike that 2, strike the 3, strike the 4, come across on the horizontal, strike the vertical, thrust the center line, thrust the backhand, thrust the forehand. So all the movements are exactly the same. Slight modification in the manipulation of the body because now you have one long, one short, but the principles are exactly the same. Okay? So that's what makes Kali super powerful and very diverse and super awesome. So if we're working with the Espada Dagger, okay, we can cross it over. We can protect that transition from backhand to forehand because that's a slower transition than forehand to backhand. Okay, and we can protect that now. Right? So you can work this. 1, 2, see it? There's the backhand thrust, pop it, and then there's the forehand thrust. So you can work that drill. You can work our basic drill right there. You could also start working some thrusting drills as well. Boom, right there. There's that florete, bop, right? Right there. So you can work out. There's the third area of Kali. There's a reason the 12 areas of Kali are so diverse, fits any situation. Correct. Correct. Deception is amazing. So I can't beat 2 on 1 stick like a Jedi? No, you can. One stick can beat 2. All right, you just gotta get good. I'm sweating a little bit. Nice. That means you're working out, my friend. Starting to get a workout. Starting to get that heart rate up. That's what you want when you're working out. Bop. Boom, right there. Okay. Then we can start moving into knives. And we got the double knife. Same thing, right? We can start working on all these different slashes and the different thrusts as well on the double knife. Follows the same principles. You're basically either going to cut or you're going to thrust. Okay, or you're going to cut. Okay, that's what you got. You can also work them on the reverse grips right here. Right? You got the single knife. Cuts and thrusts. On the reverse grip as well. Right? If you look at these motions, this is where the empty hands comes from. Right? You got the angles 3 and 4. This is where the kicks and the knees strikes come from. You got the corto puño strikes. Boom, bop. This is where the elbows come from. You got the cutting, the slashing movements. This is where the slaps and hacks come from, or the hammer fists come from. You've got the thrusts. This is where your closed fist techniques come from. Right? You have all these things. You drop the vertical, boom, you drop the vertical. You drop that vertical puño, boom, you drop that vertical elbow. All those techniques on the empty hands come directly from the weapons. All of it. Then you can start moving into all your different pole arms. Right? So in the pole arms, traditionally in Kali, we have the staff, we have the spear, and we have the oar. So this can be anything though. This could be your extended saw for cutting tree limbs. You guys seen that video where I used a saw, an extendable saw, and I used it like a spear. Maybe I'll do some more videos like that. It could be a pitchfork, it could be a shovel, it could be a broom. Someone mentioned a broom before. So, when you think about Kali, don't just think about, a staff, a rattan staff. This could be anything. What does this represent? And we have all the same movements. We could slash down on the 1, 2, 3, 4 diagonals. We can come across on the horizontals. We can come across on the verticals. We have the centerline thrust, the backhand thrusts, right? All those forehand thrusts. We can use this in the single end fighting method. Boom, crack, crack right there. And we can use this in the dula or the reverse grip or the oar fighting method. We have the same thing. See it? Boom, boom, bop. We can use this on the attacks. We can use this on the counters and then repost. So we can use, right, this could be anything. Anything that would fall under the category of spear, staff, or oar, which is just reverse grip. Okay? Very, very cool. And then we get into flexible stuff like how to use your shirt, which is mostly used for capturing, strangling, retention, or sometimes protection to kind of protect that other hand if you needed to. You'll see this like, I think it's in Haiti. You'll see this a lot when they're doing their knife fights to work out a dispute. They'll have a jacket around one hand and like a butcher knife in the other hand. Crazy, crazy, scary stuff. But you have that in Kali. We have throwing weapons. So you start to learn how to throw your spears. You learn how to throw the bolos, how to throw the knives, how to throw rocks. You learn how to throw objects. We have the projectile weapons of Kali. You know, so in Kali, the way we like to think about it in today's terms, you know, like some of the traditional projectile weapons would have been like blowguns, you know, maybe some slings, a little bit of archery, some bow and arrow, like from the Aeta tribe up north. They saved a lot of American lives against the Japanese during the war with their bow and arrow skills. You can read about it. You can look it up on Google. You can read about it. It's pretty impressive. Even though their primary purpose for their archery was hunting, in times of need, all these tools are adaptable for war, for preservation, to protect yourself, your tribesmen, your family, and your resources. And you also have the 12th area of Kali, which is more of the mental arts, the meditation, the healing. We like to include the fitness, all that. Hey, dude, baseball is really good. So a lot of times, like in Filipino martial arts, the throwing area of Kali is taught to children. Like when, like my son, when he was turning about 1.5, and he started liking, he liked throwing rocks into rivers, you know, into water. And I'm like, yeah, dude, just start practicing your throwing. You know, and then you start giving him more goals and challenges. Can you throw farther? Can you hit this? Can you hit that tree out there? Can you hit that smaller tree out there? Can you hit that rock that's on the other side of the creek? So now you're developing that accuracy, but they're learning that throwing. So that way a little kid has a better chance, you know, they can throw an object to create that distance, to stop somebody, create that distance so that they can escape the situation and hopefully get away. You know, because that's a very, very valuable self-defense. Or if you're learning to throw things to cause distractions, you know, it could be change in your pocket. So you're learning how to throw objects. And it's not necessarily, you know, like the skill of throwing, but again, it's that mentality side of things, right? The ability to think, how do I win? What do I have to do? What can I do to give me a better chance to win? If you guys ever seen like the Vikings show on the History Channel, you know, you only fight when the odds are in your favor, right? So you have to think. The Kali mentality is, how do I put the odds in my favor so I can win? And that's why there's so many areas of Kali, because that's the way that we're always thinking. If you're training for self-defense, if you're training to protect yourself and your loved ones, that's how you have to think. And that's why there's all these different areas of Kali. And that's why it's structured the way it is, because Kali is the only traditional martial art besides, you know, outside of the fencing arts, but as commonly known today between like Kung Fu and Taekwondo and Karate and even nowadays like MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, which are all amazing martial arts. Wing Chun, Krav Maga, these are all great martial arts. They're all super, super highly effective. The difference is that Kali is the only one of those arts I've ever experienced that start you off with a weapon, right? They're the only ones. So while everybody is learning their empty hands first, which is very important, you're learning the weapons first, which fast tracks the development of your skill. It fast tracks the growth of your attributes. It fast tracks your ability to think more strategically and tactically instead of just technically. It fast tracks your ability to measure the range between you and your opponent or multiple opponents. It fast tracks your ability to calculate and regulate timing between you and an opponent. Right? It fast tracks the ability to recognize timings, to break the timings so that you can get to offense, so you can attack. And during that time, when does your opponent start taking that advantage over and now you have to go into a counter? So it fast tracks the ability to flow. Okay? And you don't have to look for what technique is coming out. Am I countering the jab, the cross, the uppercut? Or am I countering this angle, this thrust coming at me, this slash coming at me? How do I move? How do I maneuver my terrain with my footwork to open up a strike so I can hit my opponent where I don't even have to entertain their technique with my technique? And I can use footwork and positioning to evade and attack. And that's the mentality of Kali. The beautiful thing about this mentality and the beautiful thing about learning Filipino martial arts in this manner is that you can take this way of thinking and you could apply it to all the other areas of your life. You could apply it in your job. You know, you could apply it if you are operating a business or starting a business. You can apply it in your relationships. You could apply it in your health and fitness goals. How do I attack these goals, right? How do I put myself in a better position for that promotion at work, right? So you can use the thinking of Kali to help you get better in other aspects of your life. And that's where, you know, the title of this video actually truly comes from, right? But you have to get to this point in the video to understand that. Kali is just like MMA, except that you can use weapons, but don't have to learn a separate system for weapons. Correct. Yeah, that's a great way, Noel, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, you don't have to learn the separate system, right? Because as we saw, we're just looking at the mechanics of the human body. So like in Kung Fu, and I don't do this to make fun of Kung Fu, I love Kung Fu, and I think that people who are really good at Kung Fu are amazing athletes. But when you look at Kung Fu, right, you have these different styles, like the animal styles. You have like the monkey style, the dragon style, the crane style, and this, and, you know, I don't know, rabbit and all these things. But Kali, Filipino martial arts, is the science of how human beings fight with our abilities, with the ability of our body and our mind. So we're not trying to mimic how a snake fights, how a crane fights, how a monkey fights, which, you know, arguably we're kind of monkeys, right? But we're looking at how do humans fight, right? What is the advantage of humans? We can grasp things, we can think differently, we can think in a way that we can forecast an outcome in the future, and then we can reverse engineer that to create strategies and tactics, right? So that's how, in Kali, that's the mindset we want to bring into our training and into our skill development. How, as a human, what's the science for me to fight? For me to fight at my best ability as a human, okay? So that way, when there's a snake, I don't have to sit there and be like, well, how do I fight in the snake style? You know, I can take my spear and I can cut its head off because I'm going to fight that snake like a human. Or if I got my revolver, I could blast that thing. I could fight it like a human, right? I don't want to sit there and be thinking, how am I going to fight a chimpanzee, you know, like a crane? Or, you know, like, I'm going to fight it like a human, dude. I'm going to I'm gonna use a high-power rifle or something, right? Like, you can start thinking about, I'm going into this territory, how do I better prepare if this situation was to occur? That's the mentality development that happens in the Kali training, right? So I'm sure a lot of other martial arts have that same type of thinking, but I'm a Kali guy. So David, yes, that's true. They did do that. Because the Japanese, right, you got to think that for thousands of years, the samurai were brought up for the sole purpose of war. So for so long, the Japanese were developing that ability, that mindset that I'm talking about right now, to think in the future about this is a probable outcome. How do we reverse engineer that to create strategies and tactics, to create systems, so that way we can defeat our opponent? The Japanese are very, very good at that. The Mongols are very, very good at that, right? Rome was very, very good at that. Until the Dark Forest, but, you know, they were really good at that. So these people that were able to conquer, right, they had that ability. And Kali, I think Kali, you know, they've adapted a lot of things because there's so much influence from so many different places, which gives more power to Kali, right? So, absolutely. We're at the top of the food chain because we have tools. Yes, we have the ability to use tools. That is why we are at the top of the food chain. But if you don't have those tools and you go out into the jungle, you're not at the top of the food chain anymore, right? So it's really our ability of what we've been able to do with our brain. That's what puts us in the position that we are in, at least the top of the food chain on this earth, because there could be aliens that are way above us, right? Ooh, let's poke at that because that's fun. All right, guys, so I want to go ahead and close it out right here. Give you guys a couple drills that you're going to work on. Make sure to go back if you need to, review those drills, and just kind of spend the day nonchalantly every now and then. And, you know, just put a couple reps in of those drills. Your training doesn't always have to be strict to, like, you know, you have to have this isolated, you know, 3 or 4 or 6 hours of the day. You can take, you know, 5-minute chunks throughout your day and just, you know, get some reps in. Get some reps in of the drills. Put a little focus in there. You know, if you're kind of getting stumped with work, or you need a break from the kids or from the husband or whatever it is, that's a good time. You know, take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, and get a couple reps in of something that you know, something that you've been working on. And you get to put that focus in there. I'd rather you have immense streamlined focus for like 5, 10, 15-minute durations than to be having broken focus for like 2 hours. So if you can have that hyper intense focus for 5 minutes in the morning, maybe 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes in the evening, that's going to be way more beneficial than having broken focus, you know, for like an hour chunk time, you know, at one of those times during the day. So just kind of train nonchalantly. You don't have to take it super, super seriously. Just kind of focus on what you're doing. Focus on the movements. Think about what are the future outcomes of these movements. If I do these movements well, what are the future outcomes? I go and go, bam, and I whack their hand, and visualize that technique striking the hand of an opponent. What happens if you miss? How would you follow up? How would you back that up? Would you miss and be like, oh, darn it? Or are you going to miss, adjust, and then go for another shot? So you can put all of that visualization, all of that mentality type of training into your physical training, and just do it in small increments. And as that focus increases, 5 minutes will become 7 minutes. 7 minutes will become 10 minutes. And before you know it, you'll be training with me over at ITC for 5 days, 10 to 12 hours per day, and you'll have this extreme focus, and your skill is going to go wham out the roof. And then I would have achieved my goal of turning you into a Kali beast. All right? If you train in other martial arts, if you're interested in other martial arts, don't really, you know, don't take any titles on YouTube as like a serious thing, okay? Think about, how can I bring this Kali thinking or this way of thinking into these other martial arts of my interest? How can I bring Kali, this mentality of Kali, or some of these movements or some of these ideas into my Wing Chun, into my Muay Thai, into my Jiu-Jitsu, into my MMA, into my Kempo, into my Salat, into my Savat, whatever the martial art is, into my Aikido, into my Judo. And how can that help you improve in those other martial arts? Okay, I want you guys to know, I'm never trying to take people away from their thing and like replace it. I want to add it. I want to help you guys achieve, you know, higher levels of skill and success. Okay, Kali, aside from a martial art, is a great framework for other arts. Absolutely. And it's a great framework for the rest of your life as well, not just your martial arts. Okay. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me. If you want to get more personalized coaching, you can do that now over on Patreon. I have the link down in the description below. Come join us over there. Try it out for a month. You know, try it out. You know, partake in one of our live stream classes. If you missed a live stream class, you'll be able to catch the replay. It's only available to our Patreon members. And also schedule a one-on-one coaching call with us. So that way we can get that one-on-one time with you so you could experience, what that is like, because we do it very differently than some of these other places that have been experimenting with it. How do I know? Because we have people that train in all these other different, people's programs and stuff like that. And as they say, there's a reason why they keep coming back to Kali Center. And that's not putting down all them. Hopefully we're helping to raise the standards of this stuff so that everybody is getting a great experience, the best experience, however it is that you need to train. So if training in person is the way that you want to go, if that's the best way for you, couple things. Number one, remember that you are watching my YouTube videos and you may be practicing the movements from my YouTube videos. And if that's helping you, if you're finding benefit out of that, try out our coaching, or at least try out our online school. And then come out to ITC or come out to any of our training seminars, our events. Maybe we have a chapter in your group. We have 7 chapters now. So you might be able to find someone in your area, or maybe one of our chapter leaders are doing an event that you want to get out to, so you could get that in-person training as well. We do the best that we can to make our online training experience, especially our one-on-one coaching, as close to in-person as possible, because I know nothing will ever replace the in-person experience, but we're trying to get as close as possible because Kali is so spread out. COVID-19, this global pandemic, has really screwed things up for people to be able to get that one-on-one teaching. So we're doing the next best thing, and we're always looking to develop and improve how do we bring, that Kali experience to you guys. So try it out for a month over at our Patreon. I got the link down below. And if you can, put it in your calendar. July 13th through the 17th of 2022 is our immersion training camp. It's our 5-day immersion training camp. I want to make sure you have plenty of time to prepare for this. If you want to come train with me in person, if you want to come train with the rest of Kali Center, the team, our chapter leaders, and our other members and other people that are going to be there that want to train in person, I want to make sure you have enough time to get all your life arrangements in that you need to. If you need to schedule that time off from work, if you need to get a schedule in for someone to watch and take care of the kids, I want to make sure you have plenty of time. If you need that time to get your finances together, and we always have options for you guys to try to make it as easy as possible to attend our ITCs. You can always do a pay in full. You can always do a payment plan. We have a payment installment plan that we also always do. If you are a member of our Patreon, whichever tier, I'm going to get you a large discount to join us at ITC. Okay? So the more that you're training with us, the more you're putting in to help us to continue on our research and building our programs better and better, then the more that we're going to do for you. And your training with us actually becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper over time. It doesn't get more expensive like a lot of other places. It gets more and more expensive. Kali Center, we have it set up where it gets cheaper and cheaper over time. Okay? Because the more dedicated you are to training, I want you there, man. I want you training. I want to train with you. I want to train with you so bad. All right? So go check that out. Got the links in the description below. Mark your calendar, July 13th through the 17th, 2021. Registration for ITC will be opening November 1st. November 1st. That's like a week away. Next week, it's going to be opening up for that. So just keep your eye on that. And it'll probably be open till about April, maybe May. There are a limited amount of spots for it. So, you'll be able to grab your spot if you want to do that and what. All right? If you got any questions, find me on Instagram over at Kali Center. DM me your questions. Email me over at kalicenter.com on the email form page, and I'll be happy to email your questions. I'll be able to get to you faster if you DM me on Instagram than the emails, because sometimes the emails, I get like hundreds of them that come in per day, and I go through them in chronological order, so it might take a little while. So if you want to get a hold of me faster, number one, Instagram. If you really want to get a hold of me even faster, join us over on our Patreon, and then you have 24 hours a day that you can direct message us and get that direct communication. And then we can set up a coaching call to even, help answer your questions in even more detail and all that. And you can personally see it. We can work you through any problems that you're having. All right? All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me today on this Sunday here. Get out there, go get some training in, try these drills out, and I'll see you guys next time, all right? Have a good one. Later. Stay